Nerd Bourbon Film and TV Addiction Hotline. Is everything okay?
Hi, thank you so much for answering. It's been such a long time since I've rewatched one of my favorite movies or TV shows, but today I relapsed.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Bourbon Relapse, the podcast series where we revisit the series that we love. Todd, today we are going to be talking about Star Wars Rogue One, a Yabba story.
Yes.
Technically it's Rogue One, a Star Wars story, but now, here and now, in the today time, it's a Yabba story.
It's all about the quest for Yabba.
We should give a little context as to what the fuck we're talking about.
You know, that's some real shit we shouldn't. And just keep going with it.
Just keep going. Let people why are they saying Jabba that way? And why are they talking about Jabba at all? Diego Luna, the actor who plays Cassian in this movie, in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, he went on a series of interviews, and I'll have to link this video in the description. He went on like when they were doing press tours for Rogue One, this man kept bringing up Jabba the Hutt, or Yabba as he says. He just keeps bringing him up. People would ask questions I think one interviewer was like, "Who would you French kiss in the Star Wars universe?" And he goes, I think Yabba.
Oh, the texture of Yabba.
He's obsessed apparently with the texture of him, and he's talking about he has a Jabba the Hutt statue at his house, and he's like sometimes I just stare at Yabba, and I just think about that texture. I'm fascinated by the texture. I want to touch Yabba.
So good.
So just hashtag let Diego Luna touch Jabba the Hutt. You know, mm-hmm. It's so good. So the whole time we're sitting here for Relapse watching Rogue One, every time that man's on screen, Yabba. I think up until the final moments where he and Jin are sitting on the beach of Scarif as it's about to be destroyed.
I'll never see Yabba.
Just I think I was literally saying as the sort of explosion is making its way to them, I'm just maybe in the afterlife.
Yes.
I will see Yabba. It elevated the experience for me.
Yeah, it's like this. It's like a similar thing to how the memes have transcended the prequels. That
right.
One that video with him in all those interviews transcended Rogue One. For that,
it changed everything. If you watch this video and then go and revisit Rogue One and tell me it is not a different experience, you will now see everything through the lens of Yabba. Yabba aside, though, Todd, how did you feel? How long has it been since you actually rewatched Rogue One? Did you ever do a second viewing?
I don't think I ever rewatched it. I mean, you know
really?
What it is? So here's the deal. So the movie came out, and then when it came out on DVD, that's the only time I rewatched it.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters a couple times, and then when it came out on Blu-ray, obviously I picked it up and I took it over to my parents' house to show them. They all really liked it, and my opinion. And then this for Relapse, I think I've seen it 4 or 5 times now. And it's funny because every time I watch it, I feel like I like that movie more and more. Mm-hmm. And I have major problems with the movie that we'll get into in a minute, but it's still I guess I just put my problems with the movie on the back burner every time I watch it. I just have fun with it.
Enjoy a good movie. It had, I think this movie had the same issue, the same thing. So it was the same thing with watching it's Revenge of the Sith. We were way more engaged. We were doing a little Yabba shit every so often, but for the most part, we were kind of just silent and kind of just enjoying the movie.
Yeah, enjoying the movie. I have my problems with the story of the movie, but you've got to give the writers of this movie credit, because this movie I think really does expand the universe in significant ways. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it, right, we never really like the idea of the Kyber crystals and the planet of Jeddah, where you actually see a fallen Jedi temple and stuff like that.
And what was it, the Guardian of the Wills or whatever?
Yeah, and like, well, yeah, and like the idea that the idea that the Death Star is powered by the very crystals that powered lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate like kind of weapon of mass destruction is within the palm of a lightsaber user's hands.
Yeah.
And it really goes to show like the fact that they the discipline, I guess, that a lightsaber represents. You know what I mean? I thought that was actually quite beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely the writer in you.
Well, I guess. I mean,
why did this person write the sky is blue? Shit.
I guess I don't know.
I'm
like
talking shit. I do agree with you on that though.
I guess the discipline in the lifestyle that a lightsaber represents of like I really think there's beauty in that. The Kyber crystal powering something like the Death Star in the wrong hands, but then powering something like a lightsaber to do some good. I don't know. I really liked that sort of like duality that they introduced in the Star Wars universe. I thought that was quite beautiful. And like it's cool seeing these different. It's cool to see Star Wars from this perspective because that's always annoying to me. Like that's always something that frustrated me. And we'll get into this a little more in a minute. And the movie does not fully commit to this, but the Star Wars universe is so big. You know what I mean? That like you could make a movie about the random team of fuckers that went and got the Death Star.
You don't
plans.
need to revolve around like a Jedi or like some shit like that.
Well, that was my one hope. I remember when this movie came out in theaters, my one hope is I was like, God, I hope we never see a lightsaber ignite in this movie. Yeah. And I hope we never see, I hope they never say the words the Force, you know what I mean, in this movie. And of course, both of those things I think happened.
Both of those things happened, but I don't mind the Force aspect. I don't even mind the lightsaber like part. That shit doesn't even bother me as much as it bothers you. But
well, like it's fan service, the fact that Darth Vader appears in the movie and stuff like that, and like it's cool. It's like the kind of things that you always wanted to see Darth Vader do in the original trilogy, but obviously couldn't because of like technical limitations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like don't get me wrong, really cool to see him just like fuck shit up and just see like the true like unbridled power of Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's something that's never fully touched upon in the original trilogy. So it is cool to watch these in the order that we're watching them. Especially with Rogue One leading directly into A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And being like, oh shit, like this Darth Vader is powerful. Like you put him in a room with like fucking 15 rebel soldiers. And they're all dead.
Do a damn thing. Mm-hmm.
They couldn't do a damn thing. You know what I mean?
Again, I always just like really enjoy that clean kill on the dude that like he gets on the ceiling. Ooh.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, very cool scene. I really like that scene. I really like seeing Darth Vader in it, but I'm almost like, again, did we have to go Darth Vader at all? You know what I mean? Like,
and that is where I will agree with you. Like, I don't think he's not needed. But it was cool.
I mean, I am glad that if you're gonna pull the Darth Vader trigger, I am glad that they at least like got James Earl Jones to do the voice. I'm glad it's not like I remember when Force Unleashed, the video game Force Unleashed came out. They got like the guy that did like Chad Vader to do the voice.
Did they really do that? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's the dude who does Chad Vader or did Chad Vader back in the day. That game came out back when that series was relevant. They got him to do the voice of Vader in those games. Because, James Earl Jones is a little too expensive, I guess. I don't know. But I like that they at least did that. The treatment of these older characters, though, I think is a little, like... It's a little too much. Like, it's leaning, I think, a little too hard in that direction. I understand having Darth Vader in the movie. It gets butts in seats. It gets people to go and see the movie. I get that. But for me, it's just a little too much. And especially considering that if Darth Vader wasn't in the movie, we all could have been spared that choke on your aspirations line.
Oh, Lord. That's some real shit. I visibly cringed at that when we were watching it.
Oh, I cringed. Even in the theater, I was like, oh my God, that's a terrible line.
That's bad. It was real bad.
It's a terrible line. Please just take it. Why'd you have to have him say anything? I always liked that when Darth Vader did that in the original trilogy. He would just choke fuckers and not say a word. like that one poor son of a bitch who's like talking to Darth Vader about like how foolish his plan is, and he just in mid-sentence, and Darth Vader's not saying shit. He's just like, go on, bitch. Oh, can't get that word out, basically. That is way more threatening than like a shitty little pun. And then especially coming out of the prequels, you're just imagining emo boy Hayden Christensen saying that.
Oh, Lord.
Then be careful not to choke on. Just imagine that. Imagine Hayden Christensen delivering that line.
Oh, it would be terrible. It would be awful.
But Darth Vader notwithstanding, I want to talk a little bit about the treatment. How do you feel, now that we've had a couple of years to marinate on this? I think Rogue One came out in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So we've had a couple of years to marinate on the use of the CGI, the CGI on like Tarkin and young Leia as she appears at the very end. How do you think that is?
It weirds me out. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think Leia's worse than Tarkin.
Yeah.
And I've struggled because I think it's a combination of a few things why Leia doesn't really work as well as Tarkin does. Because it's very well lit, like the area that she's in. Mm-hmm.
With Tarkin, it's like it's dark.
Yeah, it's kind of a dimly lit kind of bridge of like Star Destroyers and shit like that. But like with Leia, like she's in a obviously very white, pristine, very well lit rooms. And then it's also just like you have that thought itching in the back of your mind of like, well, we know that Carrie Fisher's not not that young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so you know instantly going into that is CG. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. But then with Tarkin, I do think that you're in a dimly lit room or whatever, and that actor, of course, is now dead. But like, you don't really that doesn't really factor into your, I guess, believability of the CG. They've done a good job with it. I was actually telling you, and I felt this way when the movie came out. Tarkin is one of those characters. I really felt like having Tarkin in the movie was essential. I really like the fact that Tarkin is in a movie because Tarkin is really like, he's a really cool character and a really menacing, like vicious Imperial leader. You know what I mean? And like, just a very great villain that is underserved, I think, a little bit in the original trilogy.
Oh, definitely. I mean, what is it now? What is called Legends?
Right.
There's like some good shit with that, but yeah.
Right. Like he is a really cool character, and like I really felt that Rogue One was a good chance to get some good Tarkin shit, basically, and it definitely is. They definitely do that well, but I don't like the way that they handle him because, and I was telling you this as we were watching the movie, like, we didn't need to see full frontal Tarkin at all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Basically talking about like how you could have just had like him turned to like we just saw his back, if that, and just saw like the little like a reflection of his face or something like similar.
And
I lines of that.
When I was sitting in the theater watching Rogue One for the first time we see Tarkin, we see the back of his head, and we see the sort of like fractal reflection of him in the kind of like mirror as he's looking out at the Death Star or whatever, at the construction of the Death Star. And like he's just kind of looking out, and you can see his reflection on the window or whatever. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really smart. That looks really good. That looks real. That's how they're going to do this, huh?
And then he turns around.
Yeah, and then he turns around and you're like, oh, fuck. And even that, I was like, all right, well, okay, that looks pretty good, but, maybe now they'll just kind of, like, leave it be, you know what I mean? No, you get, like, plenty of full frontal Tarkin.
Yep.
Had they just left it, like, keep him in the shadows, or make it so that he's never... Because really, all of Tarkin's interactions in the movie have to deal with director Krennic or whatever.
Yeah.
That's really, like, all of his interactions in the movie. He's not in the movie that much. But the scenes that he's in are really cool. How much more kind of oppressive and intimidating would he be as a character if the whole time he's just not even looking at him? Like, not even giving him the respect.
I think it would have did a better job of, like, showing how much of a little bitch Krennic was.
Yeah, like, in Tarkin's eyes. Because Tarkin, like, if he just never even so much as looked at the fucker, or not even come out of the shadows, like just have him sit in a chair in the shadows, like not even fucking like acknowledging the man. You know what I mean? I think that would have been a lot more effective for Tarkin as the character, and I think it would have made the CG Uncanny Valley stuff a lot more believable too. You know? So it kind of bums me out that they went full frontal with it, but I get it, you know. They want to flex their technology dick, you know. I get it. That aside, I guess my only major problem I think with the movie is that like is just for story reasons. Like I'm definitely in the camp of like I don't like the fact that the Death Star having that flaw was intentional.
Yeah, it was an intentional like sabotage.
I don't like that. Like I you know, why does the team of Rogue One, like why do they have to have an intimate connection with the construction of the Death Star? Like I don't like that. Like I don't like that it has to be the story of this woman who is the daughter of the scientist who put an intentional flaw in the Death Star's design. You know what I mean? Like I understand it's a means to an end, and it's probably a little more digestible for an audience if they can follow that character.
Yeah.
But like for me, like it makes it less cool. I mean, it objectively makes A New Hope, like when Luke pulls that off in A New Hope, it makes it less cool. You know what I mean?
I'm with you on that.
Because they deliver the Death Star plans, and it's like, oh wow, like this you know brave team of people who sacrifice themselves to deliver these plans. Turns out there's like this small tiny flaw that nobody knew about, and Luke manages to pull off a 1 in a million shot, and like, but you know by use of the Force was he able to fucking make that and save the day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, knowing that was intentionally placed there makes that entire exchange just a little bit less cool, and that bums me out.
I agree with you on that, honestly.
You know, it's not the end of the world. Like, I'm not like, oh, I fucking hate Star Wars now. But like, to me, like, this movie in almost every way elevates the entire series. But then there's just those little tiny ways where I think it kind of cheapens some of the moments. You know what I mean? It's a little bit weird when you see Darth Vader doing all this cool shit, and now we're going to go into A New Hope, and you're like, okay, well, why isn't he doing that shit now? You know what I mean?
You're not wrong.
And then it's like why aren't we seeing Darth Vader's castle now? You know what I mean? Why?
For some reason I forgot about that. Yeah, seeing Darth Vader's castle was great.
Yeah, and I love that it's on Mustafar.
Yep.
You know,
rubbing salt in the wound.
Yeah, I think intentionally, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the lore is behind the Darth Vader's castle. If that was like, if the Emperor kind of like placed him there like a good little bitch or something like that, or if it was like,
the Darth Vader himself is just like an interesting character. Like if all like the legends shit is still canon, like how like Palpatine basically like gave him shit, like robotics basically.
Right. But because you know it's you know every Sith is destined essentially to be killed by his apprentice. You know what I mean? And so yeah, like he sort of like nipped that shit in the bud.
Yeah, gimp the shit out.
Yeah, gimp his ass. You know what I mean? Keep him alive, but barely. You know what I mean? I love that.
I always think that's the funniest thing. Like even gimped Darth Vader is that powerful.
Well, and that just goes to show like that is how he's the chosen one, right? He is the most powerful fucking being. But you know his midichlorian count is so high, Tyler. But I like that. I like both ideas. I like the fact that, you know, if it's the Emperor's way of saying like, here, bitch, you know, here's your castle, here's your HQ is going to be here on the planet where you were basically killed, and you know, and as far as you know, killed your wife and shit like that. And I also like the idea that Vader would do that to himself to give himself a constant reminder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Vader's a really cool character, but again, like it's like you included all this stuff in Rogue One, and now we're coming into the original trilogy. Like, okay, where is all that? You know,
gone.
Just weird, and that's why I almost wish that like with these spin-off Star Wars movies, just don't touch that shit at all. Just leave it alone. You know, the universe is so big. The Star Wars universe is so big. That's why, you know, spoilers, I guess, for Solo. Coming into Solo, like we get to the end of the movie, and I was like, oh, thank God, we never even see a lightsaber.
Wrong.
And then we get to the end, and it's like, oh, all right, great. Fuck. You know what I mean? The Star Wars universe is big enough to not have to deal with that. Like, when are we going to get a Star Wars movie where we don't talk about the Force and we don't talk about lightsabers? You know what I mean? Like, the Star Wars universe is more interesting than that. You know what I mean? I don't know, and I think Rogue One does a lot of things right. Another little niggle that I have, another little nitpick, is that Saw Gerrera, the character of Saw Gerrera, right? Fucking the whole time, I'm talking like this the whole time, you know. That always bothers me. I don't like the way he plays that character.
I feel like that was a case of just like overacting.
Yeah, he was definitely Forrest Whitaker definitely overacting a little bit there. Forrest Whitaker's a great actor.
I know, he was just overacting the shit out of this role.
And I understand that like the whole thing about Saw Gerrera, he has that like respiratory shit, you know, and he's got like the breathing mask and shit like that. But then he just sounds goofy. He's like, Jin, you know, and it's just weird. But like Saw Gerrera having access to this alien creature that can just make you tell the truth. I was telling you, I was like, why is that creature not on every, you know, Imperial ship? You know what I mean? Like why are we?
Shit.
It's weird. It's
like did they even really explain that thing at all? It was just like, hey, this thing can make you tell the truth.
Yeah, basically, it's just he just says something like no lie is safe from the blah blah blah. You know,
you do a really good impression of something. It's like really good, actually.
It's just something like that, you know. And I'm just like, when you see you introduce this like Deus Ex Machina character, just as a writer, I guess it just frustrates me because like again, it calls into question like all this shit. Like why is this not? Why did the rebels not have this to interrogate
like,
people?
That creature needed to be explained more. Like, what is it, the last of its kind type bullshit?
Yeah, is it the last of its kind? Is it like just a simple thing like that? You know, and
native to Jeddah or something like.
Yeah, just something like that. Who knows? But like and then why the fuck does Saw Gerrera have that of all people? 'Cause Saw Gerrera seems like he's got a backing and he's got like a little militia or whatever on Jeddah. But, like, he seems overall like he's not... Like, if the Imperial... if the Empire really wanted to, if they found out about that thing, they could have just stormed his shit and just taken that thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's all nitpicks, Todd. At the end of the day, Rogue One, still a very good movie that I enjoy more the more I watch it. Because, we haven't even really talked about the characters of the movie.
It's funny we haven't.
All of which I think are great.
Oh, fantastic! Like, all of them are fantastic.
Like I was talking about, you gotta shout out my boy K2.
Without a doubt.
Still great. Alan Tudyk still fantastic. I think Cassian's a really interesting character actually. Like for him playing that kind of like typical scoundrel Han Solo type or whatever.
Here's the thing, like that's actually something we never see this side of like the rebellion,
right? The dirty side, the side where it's almost where you have these characters like Cassian, who, I mean, think about it. The first scene where you see Cassian, he fucking kills a guy.
Yeah, because he's like, this guy. He basically says, "Oh, this guy couldn't get away. All right, I have to kill you." Boom.
Right.
Instantly.
Like you don't really see the side of the rebellion where they're almost villains in a way. Mm-hmm. Like they're cast in this shadow, this kind of villainous light a little bit. And I like that. I like that we get to see that kind of like side of the rebellion, that kind of more the people who are willing to get their hands dirty.
Yeah, that nitty gritty shit.
And
it's fantastic.
Yeah, the moment where like Cassian is charged with like hey, like if you see Galen Erso, I think that's his name, right? Galen, isn't that it?
Yeah.
If you see Galen Erso, like he's got his gun is in like sniper mode basically, his blaster, and it's like fucking take him down. You know what I mean?
It really it also just shows how much like he's a really like good character just because like the way he was written, and then like there's even moments where like even earlier on, like when he's first getting the orders, there's like a level of just like hesitation even when he's getting the order. He's like, oh fuck, basically. He's like, I don't want to do that.
Right. He's a better character than you give him credit for on the surface. He's one of those characters where, like, as a surface layer, you may not think much about him, but the more you think about it,
actually pay attention to his character. He's like really well done.
Yeah, he's a well done character. I like the character of Jin. You know what I mean? Like yes, she's another in a long line of brunette white girls, but but she's good. I like her. I like the father-daughter relationship. Like, I like that that's carried on throughout. I like Mads Mikkelsen putting in a good performance in the movie.
Man, anything that man does is a good fucking performance.
Exactly. He's always great. I just don't think that he needed to be the Death Star scientist that fucking put in the, I think they could have done all of that. You could have still had every aspect of that. And he could have just been a top Death Star, engineer or whatever that just fucked up. You know what I mean? That just didn't realize that he made that flaw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, whatever the case may be, like, all the characters, great. You got to shout out my boy, Chirrut Inouye, or whatever his name is. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
My boy It Man, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He's great. Just a great little cast of characters.
Everybody gets their like moment.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that because that was something that I remember hearing. The movie was originally going to end with them getting off of Scarif, and they're like, "Oh, great, we won!" And then like the second they do, like just coming out of hyperspeed or whatever, just boom, enormous Star Destroyer, an enormous Imperial fleet.
I think we both talked about that. Like, I wouldn't have liked it. I kind of like how everybody gets their moment and then basically dies.
Everybody gets their moment. Everybody dies. There's no bullshit where like somebody happened to make it off, and because if they happen to make it off, then the question is like, well, where are they in the rest of the series? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I like that it was a suicide mission, and they knew that going in, and they knew.
It's fucking hilarious. I remember there was like a stupid theory a while back of I saw this theory with a couple. I saw this theory like over the place a little bit with like they're the Knights of Ren.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ! People are ridiculous. The fan base just can get really those little people in the fan base.
Get the tinfoil hats on, guys.
Right, exactly. But no, it's a movie that I enjoy more and more the more I watch it, because I think I put more of my problems aside every time I watch it.
Yeah.
And just enjoy what's there for what it is. And I think you'll have a good time with Rogue One. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up? We're moving on to the OT next, Todd.
I think that's about it, man.
So let me ask you this.
What's up?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to dig into the OT?
Oh, the original trilogy?
Yes.
Shit, 10 out of 10. Fuck you mean.
So I guess I can use this opportunity to actually kind of announce before we wrap it up. We are actually going to be doing something a little bit different. The episodes may come out a little bit more slowly because now we are going to be involving a third person in our relapse. My fiance, Anastasia. She has not watched the original trilogy in years. And before we go to Celebration next year, she wants to rewatch the whole series. Because she's seen them, but she doesn't really have like a grasp of the Star Wars story. You know what I mean? So she really wants to watch them all in a new light. And I'm going to start her off with the original trilogy. And I was like, you know what? We're doing this relapse stuff anyway. Why not just watch them all together, like the three of us watch the original trilogy movies together, and have her sit in for the recording, and have her as a third guest star on the original trilogy episodes of Relapse. You know what I mean?
I think it's going to be interesting because she's not as big of a Star Wars fan as you and I.
Right. So it's going to be interesting because you'll have you and I who are both intimately familiar with these movies and this story and all that, and then you'll have kind of Anastasia there as like a fresh perspective on the movies. So I think it's going to be cool. So yeah, from the three original trilogy movies, we're going to have my fiance tag along for the record on that. So. Anyway, that's going to be it for us for the Rogue One Relapse, guys. Tune in next time as we tackle A New Hope. Get fucking dunked on. Bye.
See ya.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to Nerd Bourbon this week. We appreciate your support. And if you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, why not follow or subscribe to us on whatever service you're listening to us on. We're also on pretty much all of the social media channels. And look, we would deeply appreciate it if you told a friend about us. If you got a friend who's into this sort of nerdy stuff, let them know. Spread the word. We don't pay a dime for marketing this show. And your word of mouth is the only way, really, that we have to grow. So until next time, you've been listening to Nerd Bourbon.